Recording in 3, 2, 1. Cue intro jingle. They call me Et, sometimes Set, but mostly just Rocks. And you're listening to Ceterox. Let's talk about anything and everything till we reach the end of our thinking capacity. I'm still trying to get a hang of saying my intros, but we'll just see how it goes, along down the episodes. Anyway, so this is our first official long-form episode. You might have listened to the trailer, which I kind of called the pilot episode, but then again, does it actually count as the actual first episode? I kind of had to Google the meaning of pilot episodes, and they basically mean they are standalone episodes of a television series that is used to sell the show to a TV network. At the time of its creation, the pilot is meant to be the testing ground to gauge whether a series will be successful. Because I am terrible at marketing and I pretty much just upload whatever I want, I don't really mind what results my podcast trailer had, because first of all, I didn't really share it with anybody, and second of all, if I did share it, I shared it on my Instagram page and I filled it with hashtags, but other than that, I didn't really do anything. So I'm just letting the internet do its thing. If we do get some sort of set of audience, hi and welcome. I have no idea how you got here, but I hope you're doing well. So for our first official episode, this would be a Social Sunday episode. If you have listened to our podcast trailer, then you would know that Social Sundays is about putting my almost psychology degree to some use and discuss people in general and stories of my life that involve socially awkward interactions. It's a bit awkward because I have no idea how I'm going to have my talking points arranged, and you kind of have to pardon the background noise, just like that one, because I live with 5 dogs, 1 cat, and 4 other people in this household. It's not gonna be easy to edit the audio, but it is what it is, so I don't know. It's better to have something out than nothing, right? Insert awkward silence. Anyway, I haven't really prepared much of anything except for a bunch of blog posts with questions on it, which I think would be suitable for this episode since it's all about psychology. So for those who think psychology is too big of a word, psychology focuses a lot on human behavior and mental processes. But then again, who am I to talk about psychology when none of you people know who I am? I'm actually not a psychology graduate, but I did start my college days with having a double major in both psychology and communications. I have a love for the biology subject, so I kind of chose the psychology path only because I didn't see myself having a future as a doctor or a biologist. So I went more on the, the mental path, which is psychology. Anyway, let's go straight ahead to the question so we can get this show on the road. I pretty much have a lot of background in psychology. I have no idea if it has anything to do with some personality theories, which kind of label me as someone who is good, or at least has the ability to process people in the sense I can understand them a little bit better or a little bit more than what's on the surface. So I guess regular people would call it being intuitive or being a mind reader, but I swear or maybe I don't swear, but I don't read minds, but I guess I have this knack of just sensing or reading the atmosphere, so I can see whether what people are saying or doing matches how they feel and think. So there's that aspect of my personality. Anyway, I kind of like how I have this flow of thought going on, so there's something for me to talk about. But I kind of regret that I've started recording without bringing a bottle of water with me, because I tend to use my throat when speaking. So I am going to dry out my mouth really soon, and I'm going to sound like I have respiratory problems. Anyway, let's proceed to this blog post I saw by Opinion Stage. If you want to see the entire blog, I am going to link it in the description box of my YouTube channel, and also the podcast show notes at Ceterox.blogspot.com, where I put everything in some sort of text form. If people just prefer to read than to listen, then that's for you. So here is the title of their blog. It's called 25 Recommended Personality Questions. And I just think that it's a good idea to share who I am without really revealing too much. I kind of enjoy the anonymity. Even though you guys know my name, you don't necessarily know who I am in person unless you recognize my voice from somewhere. Then good for you. But other than that, I just want this to be a platform for me where I can just keep on talking, get my creative juices flowing, and just create something which I would find valuable for myself, if not for everybody. So yeah. So speaking of psychology, I guess I want to answer these personality questions so I can give you insights on what I am like as an individual based on my own perspective, and at the same time just talk about sociology, or the study of people and the study of behavior and mental processes in general. But quick disclaimer before you people come and attack me in the comment section: I am not a professional, nor am I a licensed in any way, shape, or form in psychology. I just happen to really enjoy psychology as a subject, as a genre for literature and movies, and Sherlock Holmes is my favorite fictional character ever, and I just love to watch detective related stuff. Anyway, let's get ahead to the questions. On the podcast trailer, I mentioned that my MBTI, or Myers-Briggs type indicator, is INFP-T from an INFJ-T. Now, I only came up with that conclusion because during this quarantine, for those who are listening, it's currently August 2020. Oh, I'm sorry. I live in the past. I'm just kidding. It's currently September 4, 2020. I know this is a Social Sunday episode, and I'm not filming this on a Sunday, and I won't even be posting this on a Sunday. But wow, that's a really long disclaimer. I took the MBTI quiz at 16personalities.com, I think last month, or just a few months ago, where I suddenly got a different result from my usual INFJ-T. Now, the Myers-Briggs type indicator is an interesting way to, I guess, label yourself into a certain category of personalities. And for those who are not aware, INFJs are considered one of like the rarest, or like the unicorns of the MBTI, and they're introverted and with high intuition, very feelings, all in their feelings, and in the judgmental kind of people. But we don't mean judgmental in a way, in the way that you would normally know it. It's actually judging. It's a pretty long description, but just to like prove my point, I moved into the INFP-T category by 1%. If you take the 16 personalities quiz, they kind of have this meter saying how and that was the cough that I was waiting for and expecting. Anyway, the 16 personalities quiz has this meter where they give you a percentage of by how much are you an introvert or by how much are you intuitive. So it's pretty much all these like meters, and the last letter, which is J and P, and INFJ and INFP. I was an INFP by 1%, and that felt like a personality development for me because I read up about the differences between INFJs and INFPs, and I kind of like the positive aspect of transitioning or just developing from a judging character into a more perceptive character. So just to give you guys a quick definition of the difference between judging and perceiving, it's how you prefer to live your outer life. If you're a judging character, then that means you prefer to have matters settled, think about rules and deadlines that should be respected, prefer to have detailed step-by-step instructions, make plans, want to know what you're getting into. Compared to perceiving, which means you prefer to leave your options open, see rules and deadlines as flexible, like to improvise and make things up as you go, are spontaneous, enjoy surprises and new situations. I kind of agree with it now. Like, as an INFJ, I truly do agree that I can relate with wanting things organized in a certain way. I don't like it when things like go out of control. I like having some sort of guide and instructions to follow. But identifying, I don't know, today, tomorrow, or how long it would be like this as an INFP, I've been enjoying things more flexibly, where I'm just like, yes, I do like my things planned and organized, but I'm open to change. I'm open to things just going differently, or, you know, it is what it is. Surprise me if things just go differently. And it's kind of a refreshing change for me, because I personally find myself to be an uptight person, and it's kind of annoying, I guess, from a self perspective, because why do you gotta be so strict, especially to myself? Like, I'm really strict with myself, but today or lately I've just been taking everything easy. If I decide to do something and I don't follow through with it, I don't beat myself up too much about it. But if I do decide to do it, I do reward myself, but I don't pressure myself that, oh, you must do it. Since you've already started it, you have to go through with it all the way to the end. I just take things easy. If it's not such a necessity or matter of life and death, I tend to just, go with the flow and just take a chill pill. Anyway, I'm actually scrolling through this blog that I was gonna use as a talking prompt. But okay, I finally found the questions. There was a lot of text to begin with, which basically just explained the different types of personality theories. Some of them which I'm not sure I've heard of, even though I did take up some psychology classes back in freshman and sophomore year. Or maybe because I have the brain of a snail and I don't really remember much in the long term, unless it's something you said on a certain date. That was meant to be a joke. What I'm trying to say is I have a really bad short-term memory, and I only tend to remember stuff or things that are highly associated with a feeling or some sort of sensory stimuli. I have no idea how to put it into simple words, but anyway, I tend to forget stuff that don't really get attached to me. So school stuff, I can remember it if it made me feel a certain way, but if not, then I don't really care for it. It's just a waste of brain storage. If I'm laughing out of out of the blue when I'm not really saying a joke. It's just a way for me to fill in the dead airs, and so that we wouldn't have any awkward silences. But anyway, let's proceed to the first question. It says here, what do you consider your greatest achievement in life? Wow. So I think they're gonna be asking us a lot of like deep questions, but okay. It says here, this tells you how a person perceives success. I won't really read it too much into the entire blog because this would just be an audio book and not a podcast. But for me, the greatest achievement in life sort of depends per situation. Like if you were to ask me what is my greatest achievement today, is that I was able to complete my work early so I could give myself some rest much earlier. And I would think that's pretty much a big deal to me because I would get to rest, or like right now I'm filming this podcast for you. But if you were to ask me like greatest achievement in life, like, you know, like the really big stuff, I can't really pinpoint anything because I don't really think I made that much of an impact. But if it's any consolation, I am grateful that I have all these privileges where I have access to the internet. I was able to graduate a bachelor's degree. I am in my first job and going strong. I have a pretty stable life. I have a home. I have my regular meals in a day, and I have access to all of these utilities that not everyone in the world may have. So if I'm addressing all those privileges, then I consider those to be achievements. Yeah, I guess that's my perspective for that question. I consider that to be success for me, just being able to live every day and being able to live the next. Yeah. So it says here, the answer will give you a better understanding of how the person prioritizes their life. I'm not really after fame or like riches. Like, okay, let's be real. I want to, of course, reach a certain level of comfort where I don't have to worry about money, or I don't have to worry about having enemies. But I tend to take life one step at a time. So whatever I have on my plate today, that's the thing I deal with. And if I'm able to deal with all of it within the day, then it's already an achievement for me in itself. Yeah. So next question here says, what steps do you take to remain calm under pressure? Now this is a pretty tricky question because I tend to have a 50-50 perspective on things, where depending on my environment, if everybody seems to be calm and collected, I tend to be the one who shows a lot of pressure. I tend to be the strict and very tense character in the room. But then if everyone in the room seems really tense or really I don't know, just bothered by something, then I tend to take the role of the calm and collected person. So I guess it's a part of my character to read the room and just be flexible. So that helps me remain calm under pressure. But if you're looking for like specific steps that I take, then deep breaths really do help. So just taking a long inhale, like counting down like 4 to 0, and then just exhaling very slowly. That really helps me ground myself. And I guess most of the pressure comes mentally, or even if it does come physically, breathing is a really good way to get back in touch with yourself and remind yourself that, you know, you're alive. You may be under a lot of pressure right now, but don't let this thing, or don't let this pressure take over you. So that really helps me remain calm under pressure. Breathing, grounding, and just reading the room, I guess. So anyway, it says here that you can turn this into a close-ended personality question with answers such as ask for help, take a break, review the tasks at hand, and cry. So I guess this is very like job or career related, but I think those steps can apply to any aspects in life, whether it's like your personal life, or if it's something you're doing outside, any situation really. It sometimes people tend to forget to just breathe. Like when people are stressed out, like their blood pressure goes really high, and then some people's faces would turn red and they would forget to breathe. Like they would just hold their faces into like a certain position, and they wouldn't even realize that they're not breathing as much anymore. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, that tends to be the case. Next question. What do you enjoy doing in your spare time? I have very, what do you call that? Erratic behavior. It's like, it's pretty unpredictable. Like today, I could be recording podcasts in my free time, or I could be just browsing YouTube videos for hours, or I could just be binge watching movies. There's no specific, and I'd like it that way. I guess because now that we're under quarantine and like lockdown, well, 2020, huh? We're all just stuck at home, and we all have this daily routine of just staying at home. If you got the essentials, don't go outside. If you're a working or studying person, if you have a job or if you're going to school, then you do all that. Then afterwards, you just have all this time for yourself. I kind of prefer having that like time window free. So if ever there is something that I want to do, then that's the time for me to do it. I don't really fill up my schedule with anything particular that I have to do or must do. And it says here, what a person does outside of work gives you an insight into who they are. So, okay, so I guess it's a question of what my personal interests are. And so I guess it's a lot of consumption and creation. I'm trying to find the balance between the two, which is why I started creating podcasts, because I love listening to podcasts. And while I don't really think there's anything wrong with having a hobby of just consuming film, consuming media or what, I just prefer having things in balance. So if there's something that I can do and create, like podcast, music, or anything else that's not consumerism, then I take it and turn it into a project like this one. Next question. What is your favorite vacation destination? I kind of burped there. My favorite vacation destination, between the mountains and the beach. I'm actually more of a mountain. Ooh, sorry. That wasn't a fart. That was the friction of my leg into my closet. What do you call this? Drawer. Anyway, my favorite vacation destination would be the mountains over the beach, just because I prefer the cold air and like lots of trees. But what usually happens is that everyone else around me that I go on vacations with prefer the beach, so we usually end up going to the beach. Now, I do love the beach too, but I'm just not a fan of summer in general. I don't like the heat. And as someone who has lived in the equator for most of their lives, I'm really not a fan of heat. So a good destination for me, to be more specific, is that I really want to live in Svalbard, Norway someday, or just Norway in general. But I'm also interested in going to places like Hokkaido, Japan, or maybe Russia or Canada. And it's probably far-fetched, but Antarctica is on the tippy top of the list, just because I really love penguins and really cold places. I'm kind of pissed off right now. I had to cut the recording because I had to go out and do something. It's a little bit hard to get privacy where I'm from, which was why I was really looking forward to having my own microphone so I don't really pick up any noise. But I think I should consider getting a do not disturb sign on my bedroom next, so at least people would give me some space or privacy to just do stuff. Anyway, I sound like a highly irritable person, and I probably am, but that's not really the impression I want to give. But then again, I have nothing to hide, so what's up, people? This is me as a person. Impatient, kind of easily mad over nothing. It's not really a big deal, but I don't like being interrupted. I feel like I live most of my life being constantly interrupted. So when I'm doing things for myself, by myself, or for myself, I sound so self-centered right now. I kind of prefer just having my own space to do things. I'm kind of getting a little bit emotional because I'm a crybaby like that, but you know what I mean? Or maybe you don't agree with me, that's fine too, but I guess that's just my take on things, because I really value my personal space and time. So if people can't really give that to me, then that's when I start getting distance from people. That's when I start getting distant from people, because if you can't respect my time and space, then I can't really respect you as an individual. Like, I respect you not respecting me by staying away from you. Anyway, you were talking about vacation destinations, right? So to make the answer short, just anywhere cold. There's no right or wrong answer for this, so it's just, I guess now you know why I have I like cold places, because I have a cold character too. Nice. Anyway, next question. What is the greatest injustice you've personally experienced? Does the ranting that I made earlier count? I'm kind of bad at transitions, huh? I maybe in the future I hope to become a better podcaster / speaker. But anyway, the greatest injustice I've personally experienced are people who don't show the minimum amount of respect that people should give. They say that respect should be earned and not given. But I think that everybody should be given the chance to be treated equally or to be treated kindly, as opposed to being the subject of disrespect or anything shameful of the sort. So that's something I've personally experienced. Yeah, like I said, when people don't respect my need for personal space and time. I guess it's kind of like a daily thing, but I try not to dwell on it too much, because I think it's a very superficial matter for me, because there could be an emergency and people really need to talk to you, or people have the disability to do stuff, so they need your help to do it for them. So there are those exceptions too. So anyway, moving on. What is the biggest challenge you've faced? Am I gonna share with you about my dark times on the first episode of our podcast? Maybe not. But I will say that I have experienced, I guess we'd call it clinical anxiety and depression. It's mostly caused by social factors, but I'm not gonna blame other people for it. I would pinpoint the source to be on the situation and mostly reflect on myself as an individual. So I find that one of the biggest challenges for me because it's an internal battle. Nobody really knows about it, or if they do know about it, it's not like they know what to do about it. It's hard to fight your own battles on your own when you want to ask for help, and asking for help doesn't necessarily give you the help that you need. And that's kind of sad. So it says here, understanding a person's biggest challenge will show you how they deal with adversity. Well, I didn't really tell you how I coped with it, but I've dealt with that sort of adversity by just focusing on anything else apart from my adversity. So what really helped me was church and God, and constantly praying for my situation. Now, maybe other people have different beliefs, but for me, as a person of faith, I just, I just placed everything in God's hands and hoped that I would just get through every day and just live to see tomorrow. And decades later, here I am. I'm still good. I'm still alive. I mean, life isn't perfect, but we get by. I'm so awkward. Anyway, we have to transition to the next question. I don't know if this is remotely interesting to you people, but I guess it just helps me get my thoughts out there. Okay, it says here, if you face a problem at work, what is the first thing you do? Now, on top of mind, it would be communicating. Hi, there's a problem. And then I would propose a solution or explain what I've done to solve said problem. And then I would ask them for their feedback, or if they have any suggestions, or if there's a protocol to solve said problem. So that's the first thing that I do. It's communicate. You can't really face a problem without you can't really solve a problem if you don't communicate. I feel like majority of problems are rooted from communication or lack thereof. So I think it's really important to just communicate. If there's something that needs to be said, say it. If there's something that needs to be written or include it. How to English 101. Anyway, it says here, it provides a true overview of how a person will react if they face a problem. So answers could include asking for help, delegating to someone else, research potential solutions, or make excuses or blame others for some people. Okay, that sounds pretty shady, but I guess in a particular order, I solve my problems by trying to solve them first and then communicating it first and then solving it myself, and then asking for help, and mostly just waiting for further instructions on how it can be resolved. That sounds pretty passive, but yeah, that's how things go. If you could only change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Now this sounds superficial because it says if I could only change one thing about myself, I would probably say physique, because I'm overweight, but like not exercising is not the problem alone, or like not eating well, but overall I just have really poor self-care habits. And I think if I could change one thing, which is my physique, into an instant magic of some sort, then it would be easier for me to maintain that and take care of it, as opposed to starting from this mess and working my way into being better. But then that's just like a poor excuse to treat myself poorly. So if there's something else that I could change about myself, it would probably be my confidence level. I have terrible self-esteem, and if for some reason other people decides to test me, it would go even further down, and I kind of don't want that. I really find myself gravitating towards people who know what they want, aren't afraid to say what they want, and just, being a badass about everything. Is that considered profanity if I say badass? Okay, I should stop saying it. But anyway, I appreciate those people who are just, open, honest, transparent, frank. Like, people need to stop being easily offended, but at the same time, let people speak their truth, I guess, without, putting it at the expense of others. It's a little bit hard to put into words, but that's an idea. So it says here it's an intriguing question because it's another way of asking a person about their greatest flaw. Yeah, so there, I said it. What is the question people ask you most often? This actually depends on the person, but a lot of questions about my personality come up, such as, are you sure you're an introvert? Because people find me being proactive in approaching people first and being really talkative in social situations when I'd rather just keep quiet and listen. Or sometimes people would ask about my ethnicity because I have really pale skin and I'm anemic. I have no idea how to pronounce that word, but I have anemia. So I have really pale skin and I dyed my hair like brown. So it's a little bit light brown now. And having pale skin and colored hair are often signs of looking foreign, like where I'm from. So that's usually a question that I get a lot, if I'm half something or of some sort. It says here that this is one of the most powerful questions you can ask, as it shows you what others think of the person. Is the person often asked for advice? Is the person often asked why they jump to conclusions? So, yeah, like I said, it depends on the person. So I didn't really get the context of this question, so I just assumed that, what do people ask you most often? So it's often about my opinion on something. So they would ask me, have I heard of this? What do I think of this? Or they would ask me a question where they want to tell a story, and then I would ask them back if they want me to give them advice or just listen. That's usually how those conversations go. So, yes. What is your best memory from your childhood? If this were any other day that I'm reminiscing my childhood, I'd probably have a good story for you. And when you asked me about best memory, for some reason, the first thing that came up was my most embarrassing memory, which is slipping on the floor of a mall and basically just fishing on the floor. It was a pretty embarrassing moment, but for some reason it stood out. But talking about best memories are often associated with bonding with my close family members. So it's mostly whenever I get to hang out with my cousins, whenever we go on family trips together. Those are considered best memories. And if there's anything fun in particular, it's whenever we go maybe to theme parks or just experience fun overall. Yeah, I really enjoy theme parks, so I guess some of those memories really stand out for me. Then it says here, what is my worst memory from your childhood? Well, apart from slipping on the floor in public space and almost injuring myself, I'd probably say nothing comes worse, or nothing comes next to having a pet die. I'm very soft for animals, and the first time I've ever lost a pet, it was a pet rabbit, and it was really hard for me because it was at a dying stage when I saw it, and then for some reason a few minutes later it just died, and I couldn't do anything else about it. And I just remember going to my parents' room and I wanted to tell them the sad news, and I just started bawling. So I guess that's a horrible memory to remember, because it was just, I just remember being really sad, and I had to put the rabbit into a shoebox, and then I just had to throw it in the trash because there was no place to bury it since we lived in a condominium back then. So that's a really sad memory. So it says here, the best memory gives an insight into an experience that turned the person into who they are today. And the worst memory is about I guess it's about how, like, the lessons they learned, I guess. I don't really understand some of the things they say on this blog, and that's not their fault. I guess I've just reached this point of being blank. So, I guess it kind of makes sense. My best memories involve spending time with people I love, and my love language is mainly quality time. So it makes sense. And then my worst memory is that I have developed into someone who has separation anxiety and have a terrible time dealing with loss, but at the same time, I would be the first person to become distant when I feel like a person is becoming distant towards me. Like, at first I'd try to save the relationship, or I'd be in denial that there's something going on, but eventually I'd be the one to accept it first, usually, and just move on with my life, because if there's nothing I can do about it, it really helps to just accept and let go. Okay, next question is, do you find it easy to make new friends? Now, this is purely subjective. I'm pretty okay with approaching people and introducing myself. Like, for example, at work, when there's somebody new, or if I was the new person, I would introduce myself to people and just get to know them more. And I'm not afraid to ask questions, which is what usually helps me, because I prefer to communicate everything. But making friends per se, where you make permanent or constant bonds with people, it's a two-way thing. Do people find it easy to get along with me? I'd like to believe so, because I try my best to be accommodating, or just I think I'm pretty friendly if we're in a friendly stage. I guess it's more of a yes than a no. It's rarely a no, unless it's just one of those days where I really don't want to talk to anybody. In that case, I won't really be socializing with anyone, because I don't want to make them feel bad or think it's about them that I'm socially distant. So it says here, some people find it easy to make new friends, which allows them to fit in comfortably in almost any setting. Conversely, others find it difficult to make new friends, putting them at a disadvantage in social situations. I guess I have a very chameleon-like personality, where if everybody's friendly, I tend to be the shy one, or if everybody's a bit shy, then I tend to be more of the proactive person. So there's that. it's a bit hard for me to just stay in as one thing, or just I like to adjust. Do you sympathize with people who are going through a tough time? Of course. I like, for first of all, like, it sounds pretty selfish, but I wouldn't want on myself what is happening to other people. So when it is happening to other people, I would feel horrible for them. And while I may not have experienced the exact same thing, I would definitely offer like help, or I would lend an ear if they want to talk about it. And if they want my advice on the matter, of course, I'd love to help them and, let them know that they're not alone. Do you tackle tasks right away or procrastinate until the last minute? Wow, that's a weird segue from the previous question. Okay, I'm gonna straight up say I'm a procrastinator. If I don't feel a certain amount of pressure, I tend to take things a little bit too easy. So I end up beating around the bush. Perhaps what's going to be happening with every episode of this podcast, beating around the bush. I feel like that should have been the name of this podcast, huh? Wait, there's a dog barking. I gotta chill first. So basically, my dogs are continuously barking because my neighbor or next door neighbor is up on their tree and just I guess harvesting their whatever crops. So I basically forgot everything what I want to say, and that is really annoying to hear the dogs in the background, but I don't want to I don't want to get stressed over this. So I'm just gonna probably either wait, because I don't think they have any plans on stopping anytime soon, and I already kind of forgot what I want to say next. Well, there's some silence now, but I can't guarantee that it's gonna stop. But I kind of just lost my train of thought, and that's usually my cue to stop recording. But we have yet to reach an hour, and we have even yet to reach halfway of the questions I'm supposed to answer here. So maybe let's just go on a lightning round, or just answer questions as fast as possible so we can finish within time limit, or not. I don't know. There is no guarantees in life, but that's just how it is, isn't it? What a segue. What was my favorite game when I was a child? Playing mind games. No, I'm just kidding. I enjoyed playing board games, but I would probably be somebody you would call a gamer, because I don't really choose my media or mode of gaming, whether it was console games, computer games, board games, actual physical games, and mind games. I'd play all of it, so it doesn't really, there's no particular one that I enjoy most as a kid. But if you were to ask me today what my favorite games are, then it's a lot of online games. Anyway, it says here, they will tell you what? This will tell you more than a direct question that typically prompts a person to provide an appropriate answer. So it was whether I would answer a specific game or a specific mode, or if I preferred to play alone or in teams or in groups. I actually prefer to play games with people because it's a good bonding moment. But if it's for certain games where it's objective based, that I have to win or complete a game, I prefer to work. I prefer to play alone, or I prefer to play with people who are as serious about the game as I am. So I hope that answers the question. If asked, what would your friends and family say about you? They'd probably think I'm weird. They'd probably think I'm loud. They probably think I'm being a smartass, or I've said the word again, haven't I? they'd probably think, I don't know, like just right off the bat, they'd think I'm a fatty, because it's true. But I know they mean well, but that's usually how it goes. The first thing people say to you around here when they see you is they comment about your body, which kind of sucks, because I think it's a culture kind of issue, and that's frustrating, but people and culture can't really change that quickly, so I just try to laugh my way through it. This reveals how others perceive the person. Lol. What is my best trait? My best trait is that while I tend to be short-tempered at times, or pretty high-tempered when I do get mad, I think I'm pretty patient, or I'm very good at being collected, where I just try to hold things in for as long as I can. So I guess it would be endurance. I would just endure everything as much as I could without exploding first. It says here, the answer gives you a clear idea of what a person thinks of themselves. I think. Yeah, that's why I say I think, right? Anyway. I really need to get a do not disturb sign whenever I'm recording, because there's just constant disturbances everywhere. If it's not people knocking on the door, there would be dogs barking in the background. I would get a notification. I just can't get some peace around here, you know? It's very frustrating. And I'm starting to tear up again. Yes, the podcast you're listening to has a baby for a host. What is my greatest failure? My greatest failure is when I fail to hold my temper and just utter words that I know I would regret the instant I say it. I would say that's a pretty bad failure, because that just means, as much as I'd like to say that I have good endurance, I will explode when it's time to explode. Yeah. I'm kind of terrified if there were actual listeners of this podcast and you just so happen to know me in real life, what you would think of me now that you've listened to this episode. But then again, I don't really care. Or maybe I do, but I won't show it. I probably won't show it. I'd probably embarrassed for 2 minutes, but the minute you bring it up again, I'm just calling you out for it and make sure that we never discuss this again. Maybe. I don't know. How did you turn your greatest failure into a learning experience? Usually, my failures end up traumatizing me, so it's a learning experience for me to never do it again. So there's that. Who is my role model? Probably Buddha. Even though Buddhism is a different religion, I've studied Buddha as a character who just knows how to let go of everything. He's not tied to anything of this physical world. Like, he's just the chillest being there is. Like, he's a pretty good role model in the sense that, you know, like bruh, just chill. Now, I hope people don't come after me, but I mean it in a good way, of course. But role model in the sense that people who have like good levels of patience, good levels of confidence and honesty, those are really good role models for me. There's no one specific in particular that I really look up to for just like one thing as like a role model. I'd probably have multiple role models, but not just one person. If anything, it would be Jesus. It is beyond me right now, because Jesus is perfect. He's never sinned. He's gone through so much in his life, yet he was able to just endure. And it wasn't an excuse for him to do anything bad. It wasn't an excuse for him to be a horrible person. And like, I long to be someone like that. And that's pretty cool. What was the happiest period of your life? I guess before this whole pandemic happened, it's one of the most recent periods of my life where I started working. I really enjoy my working environment because the people there is good. I learn things every day and I'm creating something. I'm getting my writer juices, my gears going. Yeah, that's a really happy period of my life. So next question asks, what is the saddest period of my life? It would probably be back in high school when I got depression and anxiety. I can't really imagine anything worse than that, apart from like what I mentioned, having a pet dying. But it says here period, so it is a long time, and I can't really say for sure that I've cured or rid myself of my anxiety and depression, but they are much more manageable and much more kindled down compared to before. But it's pretty horrible when you're a teenager and you're trying to grow up, going through life, and you're going through all these emotions that you kind of want people to know, but then you can't really tell people about it. So you just keep everything to yourself and you suffer in silence. And I really hope that no other people have to go through things like that. But that's the reality of it. So we just gotta do what we can to take care of ourselves and to look out for other people as much as possible, just to make life a little bit easier, you know? Would you rather read a book or watch television? This is a bit conflicting for me because I love to read, I love books, but I would say in this context that I would rather watch television because I prefer to just consume digital media as opposed to spending lots and lots of money on books and have them pile up, and I would end up never reading them because, well, I don't have time to read. It's faster to watch. It's kind of a lazy hobby, and I guess it kind of contradicts with wanting to live a decluttered life, and I don't really see books as something that I would want to constantly have in my life, which is the only reason why I wouldn't want to read books. But other than that, I really love to read. I have a lot of ebooks now, and ebooks, audiobooks, and podcasts even, which kind of supplements my want to read books. And apart from books, I prefer to read articles and blogs and research. So there's really no particular answer for this. I just prefer digital media now over physical and traditional media, only because I want to avoid clutter and expensive tangible consumerism. We're actually down to the last 2 questions. I'm probably not going to read the other one this episode. Maybe it's a good segue for the next Social Sunday, but that's 7 episodes from now. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, it says here, number 24, who knows me best? If I'm being completely honest, I don't really think anybody knows me 100%. Maybe they can say they know me 100%, but they only know me based on how I am to them. And what one person thinks of me won't necessarily be the same for another person. And it's not like I'm being fake to anybody, but it's just that people know me differently. If you treat me a certain way, I would treat you a certain way. If we're in this situation because of a certain reason, we might have different experiences with each other. So the only appropriate answer for this would be God, since he's the only one who sees me, he's the only one who knows me, and he's the only one who constantly knows just who I am or what I am, not probably, more than I would ever know myself. So there's that. But if you're gonna ask about my personal relationships, I don't really see anybody knowing me the best. Even if I do have a lot of close friends, I guess it's because I tend to keep a lot of things to myself because I prefer it that way. which is why people don't really know that much about me. Okay, last but not the least, what is the one thing you would never say to another person? I closed the tab. As honest, straightforward, and frank as I want to be, I would never tell another person something negative straight to their face, especially if I know it's not really gonna do anything apart from making a person feel bad, unless they ask me for my personal opinion, or if it's gonna improve a situation, if it's gonna solve a problem. But apart from that, I don't really think it's important to, trash talk people. Like I said, people would say things they would instantly regret the moment that they say it, and that's one of my biggest fears, and one of the biggest things that I want to avoid in this life. So I just think I wouldn't want to say things to people that doesn't really do anything for them. And I think that's finally it. That's my cue. I've reached the end of my thinking capacity, also because we've run out of questions on that on that topic. So it's just a lot of personality questions for you to get to know me. Anyway, let's go to our outro, which is I'm not active on social media and more of a lurker myself. But hey, I got an Instagram page if you want to stay connected or not. It's up to you, really. I'll start using the hashtag @Ceterox on all my posts for all that SEO and low-key marketing jazz. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel for official uploads, or stay tuned for the distributed versions on mainstream platforms of your choice. Well, it's not exactly of your choice anymore because it depends on which platforms my podcast would get approved on. So I have an Anchor page. So that's anchor.fm/@Ceterox. All those links would be in the description box of every video and upload, and also on my bio on YouTube. So you can pretty much see everywhere that you can find content related to this podcast. Yes. For those who can't deal with hour-long episodes, you can check out the time cards on YouTube and skip to the part that you like, or subscribe to our second channel to be updated for highlights. Now, I'm still contemplating whether I'm gonna upload or create a second channel just for highlights, considering the fact that I'm gonna have timestamps and even podcast show notes, but that's up for future planning, so I'm not really closing the door on that. Lastly, you can check out our blogger page where I try my best to transcribe everything I just said or share show notes and maybe create other content I won't necessarily discuss in this podcast. I have reached the end of my thinking capacity. Let me know your thoughts and takeaways. In the meantime, till next time. Bye! Let's do a little mic test, shall we? So I'm currently inside my closet. There's a fan, breeze blowing down my back just so I don't die of heat stroke. I tried to surround myself with a bunch of pillows, and I basically have my face to my closet just so we can create some form of soundproofing, or to just have some form of quality. Well, if you don't already know, well, actually nobody knows, my mic broke just right after I filmed the trailer to my podcast. My microphone decided to break. I have no idea why, but the XLR cable is producing nothing but static noises, and that marked the death of my one and only microphone that is decent enough to be used for music recording and even podcasts. So now I am stuck with my phone and a pair of earphones, and I'm just hoping for the best that the quality is a-okay.